We're the Getkes. We actually both grew up in San Diego and knew each other as kids doing musical theater, and then moved up to LA separately. I moved up for college, and then after college for work.
Yeah, and I moved up here about 15 years ago to live with some friends and explore some work opportunities, and then thought I would live here for only a season. And joke's on me, because 15 years later, I'm still here. And while I was here, I reconnected with David at church. One thing led to another, and we fell in love and got engaged. And while we were engaged, we started looking towards where we're gonna live after we got married. And so through that process, we looked at different apartments and lofts and condos, and specifically to rent them. And we're just really discouraged by that process and what was available to us. And so David went on Zillow, as lots of people do, and happened to see this listing for our home. And we weren't looking to buy at that point, but he started doing the math and realized that this could be a good option for us. So promptly called me and suggested it, and I fell in love like instantly. I actually drove over to the house that night to look at it, just like drive by, see the neighborhood it's in. And I actually, when I drove up for the first time, I pulled up across the street and immediately started crying of like, oh my gosh, I love this house. So for David and I, we both kind of knew it was go time. So
we got advice, don't get emotionally invested in a house, but this was our very first house that we had looked at, and we were already, that ship had sailed.
There was no going back. So within that, David called the Berns team, because they were the listing agents on the house, and said, you know, we want to see the house immediately. So we went the next day and saw the house. And David and I were both, you know, really excited about the idea of living here, and this being our first home and a place that we could see ourselves growing our family and living for years to come.
Well, and even in the offer letter, just saying how much we love Pasadena, we love our house and this historic craftsman, and we could see ourselves in this house with a family, entertaining, with cooking club and book clubs and church groups. Yeah, we could see ourselves here, and that was part of our offer letter and part of the process.
Alongside the Berns team and their advice, we made an offer on the house, and we were really excited kind of along the process. But one of the times that we came to visit, we went to like every open house that was an option. Like if the doors were open, we were here. And one of the open houses we went to was, we were here for maybe 10 minutes. And in that 10 minutes, we probably saw 50 people come in and out of the house. And we sort of looked at each other like, oh my gosh, that was so sweet that we thought that we could buy this house, but every other person in the greater LA area is also trying to buy this house.
Yeah, there was a lot of interest.
A lot of interest. And so at that point, we sort of made peace of like, okay, we're probably not going to get this house, but also let's do everything we can in case we can. One of the things that ended up happening is there was lots of offers on this house, and lots of offers that were way more than our offer was. But one of our neighbors who we met at that initial Twilight Tacos, she has a relationship with the former owners of this home, and so she actually wrote them a letter on our behalf, saying that she met us and really liked us and would love if we were the ones chosen to live in this home. Which, when we found that out, we were so touched and so thankful that she would go out of her way and kind of vouch on our behalf.
We submitted our offer. We heard back, actually I think it was it your birthday?
It was on my birthday. Yeah.
On your birthday, that we did not get the house. And was kind of like we saw it coming. There were so many people interested, and it was priced really well, and so we're like, okay, well, we'll find something else, and still worked with the Berns team to look at some other places.
And we also at that point felt like we had learned a lot through that experience.
Yeah.
So even we were disappointed not to get the house, but we felt like, okay, well, we learned a lot of how this goes, and we kind of know, going in to this next, whatever comes next, like we have a better idea of like how to do it.
Yeah, and this was our first house, our first offer, our first, anything that we looked at. Yeah.
About a week after we found out that we were not chosen to get this house, we were actually at Disneyland one day with some friends, and we're walking in front of the Walt Disney statue, and David gets a call from the Berns team, and there wasn't any reason that they should be calling us at that point, so we kind of knew something was up. It was like 5 p.m. on a Wednesday. So David answers the phone, and immediately they were like, is Emily around? And David's like, yeah, I have her right here. I'll put her on speakerphone. And they say, so we have some sort of crazy news for you, but the original people who made an offer on the house backed out, and so they went through the backup offers and ultimately decided to choose you guys.
Yeah, which was a huge surprise and kind of a surreal moment to be standing at Disneyland and getting this news and realizing that we have our first house.
Mm-hmm. And so exciting too, of being a new couple who was getting married and kind of wanting to start off our marriage in a home was really exciting, and being able to move into a place that we saw ourselves for a while was really exciting.
Yeah, in a neighborhood that we love, and in a house that we could see ourselves growing in and having a family and baby.
So something that's been really neat is to see how the Berns team really lives out that it's all about relationships. Like, it's not just something they say, but it's something that they truly do live out, because it's been 3.5 years since we bought this house, and we see them still regularly, whether that's going to Dodger games or getting apple pies at Thanksgiving or deliveries at Christmas with gifts. They do a really good job of just kind of staying connected and staying involved in our life in a way that feels meaningful and not like we're a transaction.
Yeah, we feel like we have a really good, close relationship with our realtors, and that's awesome.
Yeah, and impressive when you think about how much business they do, that we aren't alone in the feeling this way, but we're one of like hundreds of people who they do work for, and kind of across the board, I've heard so many stories of people feeling cared for by the Berns team.
So while we were in escrow for this house, we found out that one of the neat things that the Berns team does is every year, the 100th house that they help buy or sell, they give 100% of the proceeds to a charitable cause, and that was like a really neat.
Into various charitable causes.
Yeah, exactly, and there's a whole voting system, and you can kind of vote and
very democratic.
But that was a really cool thing to find out, that
it wasn't just that that's something they do. It ended up being our house. So that year, our house was their 100th transaction. So that meant that all of the proceeds from our house went to helping different charities and organizations.
And something that was meaningful to us was, since I had childhood leukemia, and that is kind of like a part of my story and our story, and being able to see a portion of the home buying experience that we went through being donated to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society was really neat, and just such an interesting and special piece of this story.
I think with anything that you purchase, it's really, or any just customer service related thing, something that is really telling is if it's something that you feel comfortable referring to other people. And we can't speak highly enough about the Berns team. We referred them to several friends and would happily refer them to
anyone who asked. Yeah, we had such a great experience with them and really loved working with them, and would recommend them to anyone who, and have recommended multiple people to them.
Well, and also I think we've had so many friends who've had such difficult home buying experiences.
Right.
And so that we can speak to our experience and how the Berns team are people of such high integrity and communication and kindness, while also over-delivering for their clients on both sides of a transaction, makes me feel really comfortable referring them to anyone we know, because I know that they'll be treated well.
Yeah.
You endorse that idea that we went to the Berns team? Okay. Yeah.